Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, man. Aaron started this one a little prematurely, and I was in the middle of eating my last chip, and it got caught in my throat, unfortunately. But welcome to the show. Aaron, take over, please.
Welcome to episode 23 of the Bo and Aaron podcast. We're back from the holiday hiatus, and I think I have a head cold. I don't know. I think I have a little cold, but I only have the sniffles, so I don't know. It's just whack. I think I'm taking a sick day tomorrow though, because I have 5 sick days. So yeah, I don't know. But after debating various topics, I am not ready to talk about the samurai book Musashi because I feel like since Bo didn't read the book, I have to be more tactical about how I talk about it, just because I gotta tell the story and explain it at the same time, which requires me to take more notes. So we'll do that another time, and then we
Oh, we
elected.
got another story to discuss today.
Yeah, so we're gonna break down the Rings of Power show quickly, I guess, since you have 45 minutes. But since Bo finally finished it, and I was watching it as it came out, so I guess when did the last episode come out?
I have no idea.
You look.
We just so I saw the. Well, actually, there's going to be a bit of a disconnect in my understanding of the story here because you and I originally watched the first episode when it came out, and then I think they released two at the same time, like when the first one came out. So I didn't
Yeah.
watch the second episode with you. I went to bed, and then Anna and I watched the second episode like a few days later, but only watched half of it. So when we revisit, excuse me, when we revisited the Rings of Power recently, we started halfway through the second episode. So I had faint recollection of what happened in like the first episode with, the Starfall and all the basically kind of like all the arcs like starting with the Harfoots and everyone else, with Galadriel especially. But I think we can have a good discussion as to at least into a callback to one of the episodes that we had prior where we were speculating as to whether it was going to be good. And I think my basic speculation was it was going to be shit but look really pretty. I'd have to go back and check, but
Yeah.
uh,
I thought I was actually so down on it, but I liked it actually. So yeah, go figure. I was proven wrong for once.
yeah,
But yeah, what you said sounded right. Like you thought it was gonna look or be shitty, but look pretty. So
I couldn't really get into the Hobbits. I'm gonna be
no, dude.
honest.
The Hobbits are boring AF. Just
They
kidding.
were not very hobbity.
It's just like why do I care? I guess is my whole thing. Well,
My
I guess
my
because
main
of the
criticism without yeah, like I don't know how to explicitly state what I feel,
your
but
immersion
it
was
seemed
ruined.
like I mean basically what how I can best describe it is in like the original Lord of the Rings, none of the hobbits had to like fake a hobbit like English accent. And it seemed like everyone in the Rings of Power was trying to like put on their best like,
Like
oh cheerio, mate!
Scottish,
Give me a bottle of
yeah,
water. That's
like
quite posh, isn't it?
yeah, like the Scottish type accent a little bit.
Yeah, like I don't know. I thought the dwarves were amazing, and even furthermore, there was initially like I think a lot of the initial concern about the like social justice warrioring that they were gonna do. And granted, I didn't watch many of the interviews. I saw some clips from them, and this bitch seemed pretty annoying in them. But all of that aside, the African American actor that played the female dwarf was like it didn't ruin the immersion at all. It was like fantastic. I love how she played off of oh what's his face uh Durin. It's a Durin.
Yeah,
Yep. I love how she played off of him. Only criticism with her is that she didn't have a beard. So I loved that. The Hobbits, on the other hand, fuck them all. They were terrible.
yeah, dude, the Hobbits was just boring. Like I just couldn't get behind it. Also, the actor wasn't African American. She's British, so she's just like African
Oh yeah,
British
true.
black. So
African
yeah.
British.
Anyway, just thought I'd
I was
one up
searching
you
for the
a little
PC
bit.
term there, dude, and
I
I
think
got
black.
got
I think black person of color is your two
hawk.
choices. But anyway, yeah. So I thought I was gonna dislike Galadriel because they're gonna make her too badass, but it's actually just badass. And I was like, all right, I like this. Also, you got to realize they're making this for like a global audience, and like most people don't like nuanced like magic. They like people swinging swords around and whatever. So, um, yeah, the Hobbits was super boring. Even like when their arc got like resolved at the end, it's only because of one character, which they're like supporting this character. So,
Oh, I
yeah,
suppose we should have started out. I mean, this is really obvious, but there's gonna be spoilers. Spoiler
yeah.
alert for
Spoiler,
anyone that
spoiler,
hasn't seen it.
spoiler alert, people.
I
Starting in
guess it
six
wasn't
minutes.
inherent, but you guys should have known. I mean, we
Yeah.
said what we were gonna talk about, and then started talking about it. With that being said, another thing that I didn't find so let me back up. Back when I was like reading The Hobbit and then like the original Lord of the Rings books when I was a youngin, there was always they were always like introduced they're like Tolkien introduced regions of the world that were never like they never went to these regions or like interacted with these people or so like take the Ents for example or the Bjornian Ings or the like the Necromancer's Tower south of Mirkwood or whatever like there's a lot of things that you just as the reader are left thinking about like oh my gosh like what's going on there like how cool would it be if someone else went there or whatever and then like in The Hobbit, like the movie adaptation, as well as in the Rings of Power, I didn't really get that sense of like world building where there's like so much more than where the story actually takes place. It seemed like the only places that they really introduced or foreshadowed were directly benefiting the like telling of the main plot or the subplots, but
Yeah. That being said, I thought all the places they did like reveal were like super pretty and like you said, it was just pretty. It was really pretty to, especially
Numenor was insane.
Numenor. Yeah, I would say Numenor was like crazy, bro. And that one, all of the elf plays. I only followed like really like the elf storyline. Everything else I was kind of meh. Which I
Yeah.
pretty much that's how I felt about Lord of the Rings too, to be honest. But
So the one storyline that I had the most trouble understanding was the Hobbit and the big guy. So when he was approached by those the ladies in the white cloaks that started hailing him as Sauron, what was like that all about?
well like the first reason was because it was supposed to like throw you off, like as a viewer, it's supposed to make like confuse you. So that's like the real world reason. But the excuse me, golly, what is?
Because as like I already had my
I think they're like
suspicions.
spirits or something. Hold on, I gotta look up exactly what they are.
Yeah, I already had my suspicions that the King of the Southlands was a little too fair to be not in consideration for the big baddie, and that ended up coming to fruition.
Dude,
But
that finale episode with him and Galadriel like facing off, I thought that was awesome.
dude, yeah, he takes her to the freaking dream realm.
Yeah, and she's
Oh
like,
my gosh!
"I'll be the death of you." Ah! I thought that was, no, no, no. I thought that was cool. Um,
And this all started. Like I said, I saw the first episode when it like first came out. So this is in the very back of my mind. But correct me if I'm wrong. Galadriel jumped off the boat. Correct? She was not pushed off or thrown
no,
off,
she
or
jumped off. Yeah,
she jumped off.
she was
Yeah.
like, "I'm done with this shit. I'm going back."
And she was originally picked up by Sauron, correct? Or was
Well,
that
it was a boat with him and a bunch of other people on it.
yeah, yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was connecting the dots correctly,
And
but
then like there was a storm, and then
yeah.
like I can't remember what happened. Like some weird shit happened, and then they ended up alone, and they saved each other's life, and yeah. Well, because I think they did a good job of like misleading you on who Sauron was, because they had that Adar guy too. Um,
Well, he was my first guest, and then the next episode, I think it was let me see here, episode 5 or 6. I think Adar was introduced in episode 4 or 5.
yeah, it's episode
No,
4.
4. Yep. So in episode 5 or 6, I began suspecting Haldar or Halbrand, especially the little grin that he gave and the little nod and like look of approval when everyone was like, "Oh, he's the king of the Southlands." And they start chanting for him. Like that led me down a rabbit hole. It ended up being the correct rabbit hole. And it's also I so this is just me being stupid. I didn't really understand what they were going for here, like story wise in the Rings of Power, and I mean it's in the fucking title. But whenever Celebrimbor got introduced and they started like plotting to build these rings, I was like, oh, I
Yeah,
see.
dude, Celebrimbor was such a like a soy boy. He was so soft. Like he shouldn't have let like Sauron like lead him on like that. Well, I mean, I guess yeah, I don't know, but
Oh, and yeah, he said the quote from Sauron as well, and that
yeah, I
like
mean, I knew
that,
then. I
that
was like, yeah,
confirmed it.
it's
That confirmed it.
power over the unseen world or whatever. Yeah,
No, he said not of flesh, but over flesh.
yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then I guess like my one of my favorite parts was like when they made the volcano erupt and turned the Southlands into Mordor. I thought that was cool. That whole scene and like the scene after that was cool. Um, and obviously when they forged the actual rings, I thought that was all cool at the very end. But yeah, overall, like I really just could not vibe with the Hobbit part. I was just like, I would just be looking at my phone whenever a Hobbit was on the screen. To be honest, I was just like, yeah, I'm good.
So then what's your favorite scene and least favorite? Or I mean, I
My
guess
least favorite scene, or probably like the most cringe like line, was when the wizard, who's probably Gandalf, was like, "I'm good" at the end. I was like, "Are you serious? That's the best." That was like the best line you guys could come up with, was "I'm good." Like, come on. Do you remember that part?
vaguely.
It was at the end when he's fighting off like the evil witch ladies, and he gets the staff and he says, "I'm good," and then like
Oh,
blasts them.
okay.
I was
Okay.
like, that's pretty cringy.
I didn't think that was Gandalf, or at least like I
I
didn't
mean,
think.
I think it is. I don't know if it is for sure, but I think it is. It's some wizard. Let's say the wizard.
I thought he was one of the oh, what's the correct name for the blue wizards? The Astari?
I mean, he could be. I don't know. I'm just guessing it's Gandalf, just because Amazon. But yeah,
So wait, like the you're talking about the big guy, right? Like the Hobbit, the dude.
yeah, yeah, that guy.
Yeah. See, I thought he was one of the blue wizards, was my guess.
I mean, yeah, your
When
guess is as
like
good as
the
mine. But yeah, my least favorite scene was when he said "I'm good," and that was just the worst. That was terrible writing.
All right, what's your favorite scene? Is it the volcano erupting?
No, I think it's probably. It's got to be with Sauron and Galadriel. I think that whole scene, because that was
Okay.
crazy.
I think my favorite. I have two scenes that might be sleepers for favorite scene, but in I think it was episode 3 or 4, Muriel had that vision like after we're introduced to Numenor and you get that big like the
Yeah,
only thing missing from the introduction to Numenor was like a Game of Thrones or like a Skyrim style like pan out with like where it says Numenor at the bottom and you're like,
yeah,
oh, Numenor unlocked. But they give the big view of Numenor and it looks cool as fuck. And then the next like the very beginning of the next episode, she has that dream where it's like on Inception or in Inception where they went to that one like water planet and they were like, "Oh, there's mountains. Guys, look, there's mountains." And they're like, "No, they're moving towards us. That's a fucking wave." There's this like big ass wave that just
yeah. That was a
comes
good
for the
scene.
city. That was insane. And then the other scene that I thought was really cool was when Elrond had visited Durin,
Oh yeah, yeah, that was cool too.
and he gave him back the mithril, and like basically Durin was like, "Look, dude, my dad said no, so like fuck you and all the elves." And then Elrond was like, he like turned to the other cheek basically. He's like, "Look, dude, you're my friend," and he like threw the mithril back, and it had the effect on the leaf on it. That was really cool.
Yeah, and the part where like the king like throws the leaf in the little crack and it wakes up the Balrog. That was cool.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of cringe that they went for like another Balrog, but like I don't
I mean,
know.
that's the original. That's the same Balrog that Gandalf kills later. It's the same one.
Oh, for real? Like it's the same mines?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
because they delve too greedily and too deeply.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
yeah,
well, that's weird then. The way that like the timeline works on that because I mean
yeah,
it's
they're
not like
kind of fudging with the
mithril.
timeline big time. Like, yeah, it doesn't really line up at all. But
Well, like what I'm saying in my eyes, and this could just be like a shitty observation, but to me it seems that in all the other films and books and stuff that we've had before this, mithril is like it's not like abundant, but like there's a decent amount of like weaponry and shit out there of mithril, right? And if they're just now discovering this mithril in the story that we're seeing, and this Balrog is already to be reckoned with, how are we harvesting enough mithril to
well, he's
fund
not to
all
be
these?
reckoned with. He just woke up. Like, and like if you watch the clip again, the leaf goes way 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 down before it like hits
Gotcha.
him. So
Yeah, but those are my two favorite scenes. And then least favorite scene, um, dude, I don't really have a least favorite scene, honestly. Just a lot of
anything
the
with the hobbits.
yeah. It's probably one of the Hobbit songs is my least favorite scene.
It was just like I don't
Back
know.
back in my day,
They're like fake hobbits too. Like they just I don't know.
for real.
Like they didn't even remind me of the hobbits in the books at all.
Back in my day, every song from a Lord of the Rings like movie or even The Hobbit really was just like an absolute banger. And now it's like we have these fucking
You know the problem? I
Harfoots.
think they're not drinking it. Like they didn't drink beer or anything. They were too healthy. I think that's my one of my
They
problems.
were the
Like
hippie
they were
hobbits.
eating berries, bro.
They were the crunchy hobbits, bro.
In the books, like they were eating like big like legs of like lamb and shit, and like drinking beer and smoking the pipe weed,
Yeah, dude. Well, because the Hobbit was supposed to be like it's supposed to be like the carefree,
like one of the lads.
Englishman,
Yeah,
I guess you could say, on the countryside, on the Shire, just enjoying life, and
yeah,
what's
but
better to enjoy
these
than
hobbits are like eating berries and like having
making their own
campfires.
granola,
Yeah.
fermenting kombucha.
Yeah, I couldn't vibe with it. I just couldn't vibe with it.
No, same here.
And also like the part about like Harfoots stay on the trail. Like I don't know. I thought that was cringy too. Like it was weird. Like the old hobbits like didn't they didn't have any weird shit like that they were doing. I don't think.
Um. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you thought hard enough, you could think of some like cringy, like for example, the Hobbits. Upon like Bilbo's initial wanting to get out of town and stuff, like were very anti-adventuring. So there's some similarities there and like stay with familiarity. But I think as far as the Harfoots went, they were a migratory tribe, so they
Yeah.
didn't really have any trouble with that. But like on the other side of that coin, they were like really cowardly in that they never stray from the trail and never walk alone.
Yeah, I don't know. That was just I just could not get behind the hobbits like at all. Even the parts with like how they didn't trust the wizard dude. It's like cuz he was helping them and then he did some weird shit and so what do you think about the wizard overall? Did you like that storyline or was it just okay for you?
I I mean honestly, I think the Harfoots were like okay, so I guess I should start with a question. What kind of like intellectual property does Amazon have and don't have? Like, were they not allowed to use real hobbits?
They own the Lord of the Rings book basically. Anything in the Lord of the Rings like 3 volume book they can use. That's it.
Okay. So, well then, I mean, so all right, let me ask another question. If I made like Lord of the Rings fan fiction that like basically didn't involve any of the books and published it, would I get like copyrighted?
I mean, I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay. So then,
If you were making money off it and it had like Frodo and Sam in it, yeah, you'd probably
no,
get
not Frodo
copyrighted.
or Sam. I made up all my own characters.
Probably, but like
Oh, so
are they
basically,
in
but
like are they
what
in
I'm
the
trying to get
shires?
into here,
If they're in the Shire or whatever, yeah, you're getting copyrighted for sure.
what I'm trying to get into here is I don't understand a lot of the decisions that were made in like it's like okay, so this is sort of a cool story to be told, you know, how the rings are formed. You know, a lot of people like that. Okay, fine. But my question then is like why are we just randomly creating like why Harfoots? Like where I've never heard of a fucking Harfoot, all
I
right?
think I have actually. Let me. My copy of Lord of the Rings is like a little bit out of the picture. Hold on, let me grab it.
Are these like is this gonna be in the list of like when he's like and the you know the Shire and the west of the Shire, north of the Shire there
Yeah,
were
it's gonna be like
in
because he
history
says
like
like
the Hobbit history.
the
It's
fallow
it'll be
hides,
in
the
the Hobbit. It'll
spurs,
be in the
the.
Hobbit and it'll be the first chapter because he tells like Hobbit history or whatever.
Hold on. Maybe
But
not.
yeah, at any rate, even if like
Yeah,
even if that
page
is the
three is
case,
Harfoots. Hold on, let me read. Uh, yeah, before the crossing of the mountains, the hobbits had already become divided into 3 different breeds: Harfoots, Stores, and Fallowhides. The Harfoots were browner of skin, smaller and shorter, and they were beardless and bootless. They preferred highlands and hillsides. Yeah. The Harfoots had much to do with dwarves in ancient times, and they migrated a lot. And yeah, yeah, I don't know. That's all it says.
all right, fair enough. I still think that the Harfoot totally ruined like the immersion of the whole story, especially with how much emphasis they were kind of putting on that storyline. I think if the idea with that whole storyline is like, all right, look, we have this like one of the blue wizards, we want to get him down on Middle Earth and like we want to do that in a cool way to introduce him so he can be part of like the next season and da 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 da. I think there's like way cooler ways to do that. And additionally, I think at least with the precedent of like how hobbits are portrayed in the books and stuff, it was maybe an unwise decision to like completely flip the script on that. But overall, I agree with you. I think the elf story is good. I like all the scenery and stuff. I just like I don't know. The Harfoots really do sort of just ruin it for me.
Yeah, like I said, I was looking at my phone for like the vast majority of the Hobbit storyline. So,
Yeah,
uh,
and I think another thing like I'd have to go back and watch it again to confirm this, but I feel like the soundtrack just like wasn't as good at all. Like,
I think there were some good tracks, but I mean, it wasn't like iconic like the first one though, or like the
yeah,
original. I mean, but it's also not a movie. Like, you gotta remember, it's not a movie; it's a TV show. So most TV show soundtracks don't really stand out at all.
yeah, and it just feels like it's missing something as well. I don't know. Maybe silliness. Were there any like really silly characters besides like I mean the dwarves are always gonna have some humor to them.
I mean, probably the Hobbits, but again, like I wasn't really paying attention at all. So
I see. I don't really think the hobbits were. They weren't nearly as silly as the other hobbits. I mean, think of
I feel like
you know,
I just didn't like the characters of like Nori. Like Nori was kind of annoying. Like I don't know, she was just like a brat like the whole time, and her friend was just like not even a character. And then the old hobbits were annoying too until like they were just like cramping her style like the whole show until the very end. So
Yeah.
Where there's
I guess
like where
another
it's like
another
Merry and
weird
Pippin are
thing.
like the homies, and like, what about second breakfast? And I don't know. It's just like a whole different
Yeah.
vibe. Whole different
Yeah,
vibe.
that's kind of what I thought of, and I was like, there was no silliness. But another weird thing is that the hobbits were never juxtaposed with like a good deal of big people, quote unquote. Like literally, to me when I was like watching the hobbits, it looked like they were just like with a giant basically. Like all the hobbits were normal size like me, and then like the stranger was like just a giant. So they didn't really even seem like hobbits in that regard either. Like they weren't really short, and I don't know.
Yeah, I think the problem with that one is like they're just not with like other humans, so it's like a weird frame of reference.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no like, when Bilbo is riding off on his horse, it was a pony because a
Right.
horse would have been way too big and not going in any like big doors. So
Also,
yeah, the
they were
only
all wearing like really lame clothes too. Like they were just like raggedy, like garments. Like the hobbits in the show in the Lord of the Rings have like cool outfits with like breeches and jackets and stuff like that.
yeah, it definitely seemed like, well, I mean, and I get it's hard to criticize too because like I mean, you read it straight out of the book and it was theoretically before like Hobbit kind became as
Yeah.
established as they were in the Shire and like developed the degree of like comfort that they
I
grew
mean,
to
if they
enjoy.
made the characters better, then I wouldn't have mind. But the characters themselves were just lame too. Like
Yeah.
I wasn't rooting for Nori at all. Like I just didn't care. Whereas
And
like
again,
Galadriel, I was like, yeah, let's go, girl.
I want to revisit my point of it sounded like I am almost interested in looking up all these actors and like seeing, what their nationality is because it really did sound like none of them were actually Scottish and they were all faking actors because like
Yeah, I think they're all British actually.
I just couldn't get into that. But then again, it's like, the show writers could say like, Harfoots were never shown in like the Lord of the Rings movies or anything. They don't have the same accents.
True.
They whatever, whatever. It's like, all right, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, my one
But
of my coworkers, she was like, yeah, I just couldn't get into the Hobbit storyline. It was too boring, so I stopped watching. Literally. So I was, yeah. I think honorable mention though for one of my favorite scenes was the contest between Elrond and Durin, like splitting the rocks. I thought that was cool.
oh yeah, doing it with like two hands,
Yeah.
splitting two rocks. Yeah, I mean, all in all, I'd give it 7 or 8 out of 10 maybe, with like pretty good potential to get up to like a 9 if the like literally if they just deleted the hobbits and like
I
made it
think
shorter.
I think I gotta give it 7, like a soft, very soft 7. Cause like the parts that I liked, I really like, but yeah, like you said, like a third of the story, I just didn't give a shit about. So it's kind of hard to like give something higher than a 7 if you don't give a shit about like a full like 30% of it.
I think though that I really think that season 2 has potential if they put more. Well, I mean, I'm literally just going to be saying the same thing I've been saying. Like, basically, delete the hobbits, focus on like the Sauron versus the elves sort of thing, and the development of Mordor, and how the Numenorians are going to reconcile with that, and it like for my understanding of how shit kind of went down is Sauron invaded Numenor under the guise of like fairness and convinced somebody to do something right in the Silmarillion, and then the humans fell, and
Yeah, dude.
so
No, season 2 could be cool. It's gonna be like Sauron versus Adar in Mordor. They're gonna be fighting each other, and the orcs have to like choose who they want their master to be or something.
yeah.
Because I feel like Adar and Sauron, like remember, like they were like tried to kill each other in the past or whatever. Apparently,
Oh, I didn't catch that bit.
well, because remember when Halbrand and Galadriel catch Adar, like Sauron is like about to kill him, and Galadriel's like no, and he's like, then he's like, we have beef. I need to kill this dude, like something like that.
Okay.
And then the other, like, Numenor is going to be really Games of Thronesies. I think there's going to be a lot of politics going on because the R Pharazôn guy, the dude with the big beard, like wants to take over, and the queen, and like the queen's blindness and like all that shit is going to be going down. And
Yeah,
then
I see. I'm hyped for. I can do the politics in Numenor. I liked Game of Thrones. I think the conflict between the fair and the evil and the form of like the Numenorian slash elves slash it's gonna be the fucking hobbits, but whatever.
yeah, and
Versus
then yeah, the dwarves with the Mithril and the Balrog. That's going to
yeah,
be cool.
the dwarves. But dude, like so much potential, literally. And then there's the fucking hobbits, and they're
Dude,
not even
I think the
hobbits.
hobbits are gonna be done. It's gonna be Nori and the wizard and her friend. Or no, her friend didn't even go with her. Did she? I don't think so. So yeah, it's just gonna be Nori and the wizard. I think they're just gonna ignore the rest of the hobbits because like
Dude, I still don't. I can't envision like that ending well because it's gonna be if they're gonna keep Nori in and her friend and the wizard or whatever, they're gonna be an inseparable group package until they get separated, and then Nori and her friend are gonna have to go rescue the wizard and like
yeah. I mean,
it's gonna.
I don't know about like the whole implications of that storyline. I don't know much about the wizards. Like Tolkien doesn't really say much about them other than Gandalf and Saruman. So yeah.
Well, it was like presumably in the Silmarillion, right? They sent my understanding is that Gandalf, Saruman, the Istari, and Sauron, they're all Valar, correct?
Maiar, minor
Maiar.
spirits. Yeah.
Yeah, Maiar. So they were all sent to Middle Earth, maybe with the exception of Sauron, but as a group package to like improve Middle Earth. And I believe actually didn't Sauron get there first, and then all the other Maiar kind of went to go help Middle Earth and try to fight Sauron essentially.
Well, Sauron was like a servant of Morgoth, was his thing.
Yeah,
Like
but
he went with
he
Morgoth.
got sent to no, I thought he told Iluvatar like he was like, "Oh, dude, I'm good now."
Well, he's good.
I
Oh,
it
after Morgoth died, he told him that.
okay.
So like he was with Morgoth, and then Morgoth, or no, they like imprisoned Morgoth or whatever, and then he's like, "Yeah, yo, I'm actually good again, bro."
Yeah. Oh, I
and
want to go to Middle
then he
Earth.
was like, "Yeah, okay, sure."
Send me on the mission trip.
Dude, that's so crazy. Like you serve Morgoth, and then you're like, "Yo, I fucked up," and then you just go back to normal. That's actually
Yeah.
hilarious.
But I mean it does also show like the I mean and I'd have to read the whole Silmarillion, but from the little bits that I've, quote unquote read because I think I did all my Silmarillion experience on audiobook. Um Iluvatar really is kind of like God in the beginning
Yeah, he
saying like
is.
let there be light and is it's probably a much looser connection than God and Jesus, but certainly there's sort of a father son connection between Iluvatar and the Valar and the Maiar. So him like willing to sort of forgive Sauron in that sense and be like, okay, you can have a another chance here is like it's a folly that could only be committed like, with the like rose tinted glasses on, right?
Well,
Because
I guess
like
the other thing is Sauron did say like to Galadriel in that one scene, like Morgoth had like an iron grip on my brain or something like that. So,
mhm,
but yeah, I mean Morgoth is obviously like the devil because he was one of God's children and then like wanted his own power and yeah.
yep.
Um, I also thought it was cool how they like melted down Finrod's dagger to like make the rings. I thought that was cool because they needed the pure gold from the elf lands and pure silver from the elf lands or whatever.
Mhm.
And it was like symbolic because Galadriel got to continue her mission. So I think like this first season,
Did they ever name the rings in this like series? Did they? Because like I
I
saw the
think
three
they
Elven
did.
rings,
I think they did. I can't remember, but it's
and it was obvious which one was
Narya,
which.
Vilya, and I can never remember the third one. I can't remember. But then Gil-galad gets the fire ring. I think Elrond gets the water ring, and Galadriel gets
Nenya,
the
Narya,
air
and
ring.
Vilya.
Nenya. Narya Vilya, yeah. But then the fire ring goes to Gandalf later, because I guess Gil-galad dies at some point. I think so.
Yeah, Elrond got Philia.
And it's important to note that like Sauron never touched these rings, so like they don't have any taint of evil. They're good. They're good rings.
Yeah.
And then when he makes the one ring, like they immediately sense it and take off the rings. So, but the humans and the dwarves are fucked, but the elves are cool still, or the elves are fine rather. But yeah, I mean, I guess at some point he has to make the 7 rings and the 9 rings. So I don't know how they're gonna find like 9 kings of different kingdoms to like give rings to. So that'll be a kind of interesting to see how they wiggle that in. The doors should be pretty easy because there's gonna be like a bunch of different mountains that they can just make up, but like 9 different human kingdoms is kind of a lot.
E yeah, I mean especially in like the point of time that they're in because isn't the lore that all humans came to Middle Earth from Numenor, like sailing from north from Numenor?
um,
Because weren't Numenorians enjoying some sort of like not immortality, but like enhanced life essentially as a gift from the elves before they decided to follow Sauron and the
no. So
ones
how
that
I understand it, I guess I have to look back at it, but basically Iluvatar like created men and they were all in Middle Earth, and then some of them sided with Morgoth and they were stuck on Middle Earth, and the ones that sided with the elves got the special island of Numenor to be cool on. I
okay.
think, and they kind of mentioned that in the show too, like all the people on Middle Earth are like downtrodden because they've been forgotten and they're distrusted, and everybody on Numenor is like partying and like living it up and whatever.
Man, yeah, there's a lot of room for cringe then if they have to pull 9 human kingdoms out of their ass.
Yeah, like I don't know how it's all gonna go down, or it might be like 9 kings of one kingdom. They might do like a I don't know. We'll see. 9 brothers or something. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? But it was cool.
Uh,
Like this when the like little map burned off and it was the Southlands and it turned into Mordor. I thought that was cool too.
yeah, that was definitely a I I was very glad to see like that we got to see the creation of Mordor and
I thought that was really creative too, like the whole volcano and all that shit. I thought that was really creative. Like, I got to give props to the showrunners. They actually like made up stuff that like was interesting to me. Unlike the Game of Thrones when they ran out of George R. Martin's shit, they just started like they started just like I don't even know what they were doing. They're just like literally following bullet points and like with no story in between.
yeah, I agree, but have you ever seen that meme where it's like a bunch of people, it's like stick figures and they're sitting around like an office table and then like one of the stick figures like makes a suggestion and then it gets like kicked out of the building,
Yeah, yeah,
flies out the
yeah. I've
window.
seen that one.
Yeah. So they need to do that fucking IRL with whoever the social justice warrior is in like the boardroom that's suggesting to keep the Harfoots in and be all intersectional or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like it didn't make sense. Like, if they're gonna be like a different complexion, they all got to be that same different complexion. You know, what I mean, it's a tribe of people or of hobbits, right? Like, tribes look the same, right? Am I or I don't know.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think you're right.
So
I think the accent too should be like they should just go like full unique instead of like trying to emulate something loosely and then just I don't know. Like surely I'm not the only one that feels this way, or at least us two aren't the only ones that feel
no,
this
I mean a
way.
lot of people really hated this show. Actually, like they hated it. Like
But like when you ask
how
people
we were
why,
feeling.
like
Like
why do you hate it? And it's like because to me like now that I'm sitting here talking through it, I literally I think I quite literally liked everything except the Harfoots
I would say same. Like because I remember like we were
and the
talking about it.
music
Like
maybe.
we were all gonna be mad about Galadriel and blah blah blah. And then like it ended up like either not bothering me or not being bad. So I was like, but I mean everybody on YouTube that hates everything like made a bunch of angry videos about it. I mean, but that's their brand though. Like they get
Yeah,
mad about
but I
shit.
mean,
Like
I
yeah.
also think that if they like went full out on Galadriel and made her like a butch lesbian and like super masculine traits, I wouldn't have liked it. But like, there's enough like femininity in there
No,
that
I'm down.
it's
I'm down.
not.
I'm down tremendous for Gladriel. To be honest, I'm down tremendous for Gladriel. So I'm not even gonna lie. And also, I like
Yeah,
the way her actor like rolled her R's with Numenor. 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 I thought that was cool because that's how it's supposed to be pronounced. I think so. Anyway,
yeah. All in all, like I said, probably around seven. What did I say? 6, 7, or 7, 8?
you said 7, 8. Yeah, I said soft 7.
Yeah, probably closer to 7. But like I also think Game of Thrones is like definitely at least a 9. I didn't mind the little shit that we got at the end.
I think.
All
I
the
mean,
all the
first three
goodness is worth
seasons
it.
were 10, and then it's just like slowly trickles down for me. So that's how the books were too. Like the first 3 books, 10 out of 10, and then after like book 4 and 5 or whatever, just kind of like mid. So. And then, of
Yep.
course, there's not going to be any more books because George R. R. Martin's going to die before he finishes any more books, like we said in the past. So it is what it is.
How have you seen the Game of Thrones show, like the newer one, the Dragon?
No, but I read the book though.
Okay.
Have you seen
So
it?
yeah, no, I haven't. I was just wondering, maybe I'll watch that next because I had some friends that were watching them both at the same time as they were kind of coming out, and they were like telling me because I told them I'm like, oh dude, tried watching the Lord of the Rings and like it was so bad that I didn't want to watch any more of it. So I don't even want to like start trying to watch the House of the Dragon because I know
No,
I'm
I
just gonna
heard
be
that was really
disappointed.
good actually.
Yeah, and they're like, no, dude, it's like way better than the Lord of the Rings. I'm like, all
And
right,
the
maybe.
book was good. The book was good. So
Yeah, see, I never read the books. I don't know what to expect,
the
but
book was called Fire and Blood, and it's not like an actual book. It's like a fake history book. So because George R. R. Martin's good at like world building and shit, but he's bad at actually like writing a story, basically. So
fair enough. Tolkien was pretty good at both. I'd say. I'd say he was passable.
I think I mean, world building, like, there's no better builder than him, I think. Because, like, he literally came up with, like, 3 fictional languages before he even had a story. Like, that's pretty crazy world building, if you ask me.
Yeah, I'd say he was all right.
And then the story, um, I mean, all the characters are memorable. The only part, I guess, who am I to criticize Lord of the Rings, I guess, but I guess sometimes the dialogue is, like, a little whack. But I guess I mean he did write this in like 1940 something or like it's not meant to be relatable to me.
Hey, yo,
It's
Gandalf, that's kind of sus, bro. What the fuck?
yeah, like if it
No
was like that
cap.
I could totally relate way more, but yeah. Like I said, who am I to criticize Lord of the Rings to be honest, but it is what it is. I'm trying to think. I guess we have like very limited time. Any other glaring Oh yeah. I guess we didn't. I guess we can talk about this briefly. Like the elf and the human lady falling in love. What did you think about all that
Which elf and human lady?
in the show? And this
You're gonna have to give me.
the lady has the son who like picks up the Sauron's dagger thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Dude, I thought early on that that guy was like gonna end up being super sussy and like following Sauron behind the scenes and like basically being like a spy. Um, yeah, it didn't really end up being like that.
Yeah, I mean that storyline was it's it was fine.
Definitely forgettable.
Yeah, it was okay. I mean they were just doing that because like in the Silmarillion there's like Beren and Luthien and like they're an elf and a human fall in love. It's just like a rip off of that basically. So that
I
was
thought
what I
I
liked
thought
of it.
some of the scenes surrounding it were pretty cool. Like the one where he had to hide in the well and it was really tense and the orcs were looking for him.
Yeah, that was all right. And the when they were in like orc prison or whatever, that was kind of okay. I guess that was interesting. And the
or
orcs are like not very strong because they can't go in the sun. I think the orcs in Lord of the Rings can go in the sun, right?
I believe so.
So,
I let me think. You know?
but I can't think of a scene where they're in the sun though. But they don't say they're gonna burn up if they go in the sun.
Yeah. All the scenes that I'm thinking of that are like somewhat daytime, they're either in like sort of tunnels or like under trees.
Um,
Okay, how about this? So when they assaulted our fellowship right as Boromir died,
yeah, yeah,
right
yeah, yeah,
before
yeah. That was
Boromir
during the day.
died,
That was during the day. Okay, they're
there
fine. They're
were
fine.
trees, but in order to do what they did, they would have had to, at least in some part, go out into like the river clearing or even cross the river. So I would argue that, well, I don't, maybe the river doused them and they couldn't burn up in the river.
Nah, I think we saw him in the they never
Yeah,
like made any mention of it either. Like it was kind of a big deal in the Rings of Power show. Like they couldn't go out in the sun.
yeah. Yeah, like the other scenes I was thinking of was like whenever they were at Isengard, like doing all the shit there, they kind of had like a tunnel system going.
Yeah,
There was an assault that they performed on the roar hymns,
Rohirrim.
the Rohirrims. Yeah, that was like outside of the Ent forest in the day, I believe, or at least as they were like um counter assaulted by the roar, those guys,
Yeah, I
the
don't
fucking
I don't
horse
remember that
lords.
scene specifically. So
Because as they were piling them up and like burning them, it was like well, I guess that could have happened the night before. Yeah, I don't know. I think the bottom line is that like yes, they could probably go out in the sun because there was, like you said, no, they weren't harping on it, and there were multiple times that they were like at least out in the during daytime, whether undercover or not. And then like in Mordor, they don't really have like day or night, so
right, it's just a volcano. Yeah, permanent volcanic dystopian.
it's like Alaska except hot.
Except hot. Yeah. So you got to stop now, or are we?
Yep, I'm gonna
All right.
let's wrap things up here. So yeah,
So
like I said, all in all, I think it's a pretty good show. I'm really quite excited at the prospect of season two, just given where they are in the story and kind of like if they take it in the right direction, it has the potential to like actually be something that I would like go back and rewatch. Right now, the only stuff that I go back and rewatch are the like actual like the trilogy. I don't even fuck with The Hobbit really.
yeah, The Hobbit was
So
boring.
The Hobbit, I would revisit The Hobbit if it was one movie, but I'm not gonna like, if I want to do a marathon, like I don't want to just get through The Hobbit. It's
Yeah, that would
like
be lame. That would be so
that's kind of lame.
lame. What did you do this
Um,
weekend, Bo? Oh, I watched The Hobbit. Oh wow,
oh, so what else did you do? No, that was all
it
weekend.
was literally 10 hours long. Like, yeah,
Yeah, so like I said, I think highlights for me were really like the cinematics, like the just how they showed a lot of the environments and a lot of the like conflict scenes or like the like the tense scenes where he's hiding in the well and stuff. I thought the filming or whatever goes into making that look good was really well done. I think my least favorite part again was the harfoots, and the soundtrack wasn't memorable to me. And usually like if I'm watching a Hans Zimmer movie, like I know I'm watching a Hans Zimmer movie, right? And that just didn't happen. And there were some cringe songs from the harfoots. So that's my rough recap.
yeah, I would say pretty much same except the like two songs from the soundtrack were like in my top five listened songs on Spotify last year. So it was Galadriel's theme song and then the Valinor theme song were both, and then everything else. Sauron's theme song was okay, but yeah, it definitely wasn't cinematic though. Like it was definitely a TV show. Like Lord of the Rings, like everybody or not Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, like this, the opening music is memorable, but everything else is pretty forgettable. So
No, I see. I was just about to. I thought you were gonna say what I was thinking, which is like Game of Thrones did a really good job with a lot of the music. Because, dude, like the Reigns of Castamere And there's so many songs from that movie or not movie show. Like it's not like Lord of the Rings where they have like the same kind of like fight music, like the dun 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 dun
Yeah.
dun 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 dun. Like that's not playing every time they get on a horse, but there are some like crazy good songs. Like Range of Castamere is one that will like always give me goosebumps. That one's so good. And there's a really good YouTube video too. I will I'm gonna pull it up here so I'll remember to put it in the description, hopefully. But it's this choir, like this in real life choir that does a cover of Reigns of Castamere. Let me see if I can give them a shout out real quick. Da, 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 da. Bove Audio is
Okay.
the. Oh wait, no, it's not. That's definitely not the one I was listening. Where is it? Yeah, I don't know where it is. I'll have to find it. But it's this choir and the vocalist is really talented. It's super well done. That song's great. Oh, I found it. It's Pisces Rising is the
Okay.
YouTube channel. Pisces Rising. Want to sign us off, Aaron?
Yeah.
Are you
Uh,
listening to the Reigns of Castamere?
no, I was. Oh, I thought you were gonna like send me a link or something. Um.
Oh, I I will send you the link, but I just
Okay.
have it pulled up so we can put it in the description here.
But yeah, thanks for tuning into our review of Rings of Power show. We're looking forward to the next season whenever that comes out, and actors for Galadriel. Like, if you ever like bored, hit me up. Yeah, that's it. So thanks for tuning in, guys.
Until next time, peace out.
Peace.